Hi guys, welcome to today's session. We're just carrying on with this urban sketch today, so I think we've had two sessions so far and we're going to pushing on with it. And what I'm going to do this week, so I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit from the whole picture, and we're just going to be working on a specific section, so that should be zoomed in now for you guys. And I'm going to be working on rendering, sort of from this point here, this doorway. I'm working my way across, looking at these sort of subtle shadows underneath this top, or this lowest part of the fire escape. So I'm going to be starting working from the left, and this is going to require pushing some parts a little bit darker. We're going to be crispening some edges, and also adding in some detail. So sort of pushing towards a finish. Essentially. I'm working with these sorts of scenes. If you can approach things kind of section by section. A lot of it's going to be, when you're working with an urban scene, a lot of it's going to be single planes. So say this doorway, we've got it kind of moving backward in space, and it's just a single flat plane. It gets a bit lighter as it goes down, but generally it's separated out from the rest of the doorway. And we've also got, so I've only got, kind of prior to this point, I've only got this central portion of the doorway which is in shadow, but it's a nice simple shadow that runs all the way down. From there I can kind of work my way across, so we can start to look for how the shadow changes position and direction. So you can sort of see how these little details are being built up, and it doesn't take sort of, it seems complex once you look at the final result, but it's not actually too difficult if you take it kind of piece by piece. So then we've got the same thing on the other side, so a sort of a bit of a gap there, I can imagine, then the shadow that drops down. Then we've got the general shadow cast over all of the door, which again is somewhat influenced by the paneling, so the shadow sort of travels down, and then say here it moves across a little bit. Then we've got this sort of cross shape. And the shadow travels back a bit, so we're just sort of looking at these undulations in the shadows. And then I want to do just another pass over this side of the shadow. Just to unify it a bit more, I want it to be a bit darker. And then we've got the same pattern repeated on the other side. And if you start to work with repeating shapes in the scene as well, it gets a bit simpler because you can sort of use what you you know, so you can see I did that side a bit quicker than the first side that I did. Yeah, and that's pretty good for that doorway, so I'm fairly happy with that. I'm going to work my way across to the side next to it now. So we're going to try to get this next section. This next section is a bit different. It's not got as many kind of specific kind of intricate details, but it's got some nice, really nice shadow stuff going on. So I'm looking at the sort of soft penumbras around these shadows, which we kind of started to look at a little bit, I think, last session when we were doing our general passes over, but you can see how we've got really soft edges to some of these shadows and harder edges to others, so we just want to explore those and lay them in. There is a little bit of kind of like architectural stuff going on, so this doorway, for instance, has sort of similar little cut back panels. Generally this doorway is kind of very much in the dark, so we can kind of make it a little bit softer, the stuff going on in that doorway. It's quite a nice little touch. You know, things that are really hidden in doorways can be a bit more sort of soft and obscured. So same goes for this window as well. We've got some little detailing in the window frames, and we can try to suggest the shape of the air conditioning unit as well. Whatever balance of detail that kind of works for you, you can go for. So if you want to kind of go overboard and do a lot more detail and say what I'm putting in, that's cool as well. You just want to kind of keep in mind like how much, sort of what the overall effect is. So you kind of always swapping a little bit in terms of your attention between the overall impact of the detail you're adding and then the specific kind of like what's going on in that little section of the piece. Because ultimately the first thing the viewer sees is that first kind of view, first impact, and then they start to make their way around the scene and think a bit more about little individual parts. So a balance of the two is good because it kind of has a good impact initially, but then it also we've got these little details here on the wall. So getting pretty close with this section. I'm kind of getting to the boundary of where I wanted to work today, so we're starting to get a bit of a sense of those shadows on the wall. Got quite a nice sense of the shadows on the wall. Where they're sort of sharp and soft. Certainly got the detailing, kind of nice detailing into the doorways, the window, which is what we were after. And we'll probably do kind of like a final pass. Just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see that really pops quite nicely now. Relative to the rest of it, but you can imagine once we start to get up here and we get sort of say the fire escape rendered in a bit more, it's going to like feel more separate from, more like it's kind of coming forwards from this wall behind. I'm just going to do a final, kind of looking at it overall made me think I should do a little bit more. Shadow on that wall. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there for today. So you can sort of see how much that's developed to kind of a nice level of detail. And we're putting that into the rest of the piece and then kind of going back over and modifying everything. But you can certainly see it starting to come together now, which is what we're after. So as always, you can subscribe to us here on YouTube to keep up to date with all these videos. You can also click the link through to our school website and see what sorts of paid qualifications we offer. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week.